Had to check and make sure my alerts were off. But hello, everybody. This is Shoot the Breeze, episode 18, a chill interview and chill times all around for you and me. I am your host, Heavy Divider, and with me for the night is pretty much a very creative individual on hand. As a matter of fact, not only is he gifted in the form of model making as well as like Photoshop, he's also a very honest person too. Doesn't mind share his opinion here and there, as well as be able to help a person out, no matter what it is on hand. So for my guest for tonight, this is PLRis on hand, and I've got a chance to know him for quite some time on hand. But how you been, PLRis? Welcome, buddy.
Thank you for having me. I've been good. Just hanging out and having a good time. As good as a time you can have in these troubling times.
Oh yeah, in these troubling times on hand, you gotta basically work the best as you can, as well as basically enjoy what you can here. Do what you can for the most part on hand. So, but
yeah, that's accurate for sure.
But yeah, let me ask you with the first following question on hand. How the hell did we meet?
Well, it was definitely a while ago. And we had this discussion before the show. I didn't actually remember 100% how we met. You enlightened me a little bit. But it was definitely it's gotta be coming on 2.5 years ago.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 years.
If I'm correct.
Yeah, you're correct. It's 2.5 years. Like we met like early February. No, actually, we met actually in June. June.
April or June. So in between that time period.
In between that time period, because I didn't meet you earlier on until I was already starting streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. I'm not 100% sure what who necessarily we met through. I think I obviously you have your your own ideas, but I'm not 100% sure. But I do know we met because I'm obviously I'm here.
Yeah. All I could say is basically we met, and basically at that time or so, basically we actually met through in like I bumped into Snow SOS's group on hand, and believe it or not, I didn't get to know him until I didn't get to know anybody there until a friend of mine by the name of I can't remember how his first name started, but basically his name was Pancakes, but basically I met for Sugared Pancakes, that's what it was. I met for Sugar Pancakes. I met in that group, and that's how I met you. I think we briefly just kind of like brushed by each other on hand. So.
Yeah, probably briefly at periods of time, but yeah, I definitely back then. It was hard to keep up with a lot of people because there were so many people involved with that group for sure.
Yeah,
It's been a long time since that group, since I was around there.
Yeah, it was an interesting group. It had like its different divisions on hand in the sense of basically you had Snow at the top, and then basically there was like different parts
you had,
of them.
The core people, and then you had it was basically like the stump of the tree and then the branches. You had the people who were always there, and then the people who were in and out or whatever. Yeah, it was hard to keep up with everybody for sure.
Yeah, because everybody was kind of like widespread, and decided to kind of spread out a little bit more in their own interesting ways here and there. So, but let me also ask about your VRChat origins on hand. How did you come across this game entirely, or what got you interested in basically joining the game?
Well, we can take this all the way back to 2016. I had just stopped playing Counter-Strike on a regular basis, and I was looking for something to do to, scratch my competitive itch. And League of Legends, I had already been playing League of Legends for a long time, but that's what I, put my heart and soul into for a couple of years. And one of the people that I watched a lot back in those days was Dyrus. He had just retired from being a professional League of Legends player from TSM. And he started streaming Variety, and I really enjoyed his content, so I stuck around. And then he started playing VRChat on stream in about October of I believe it would have been 2017, I think. Yeah, 2017. And I thought it was interesting, and he was talking to people, and these people were genuinely funny. I'm like, huh, you know, this seems interesting. Let's try it. So I, I downloaded VRChat, which it was a very small game then. I mean, there weren't even probably 1,200 people playing at that point, and got in the game and was hooked immediately. And I was like, all right, well now I got to experience this in VR. So drops $400 on an Oculus Rift. Shipped that baby overnight, and 3,700 hours later, here we are.
Well, there we go. There we go. It took me about a year before I realized I better get an Oculus or something just to be able to get the full experience on hand. Like, I was in desktop when I first started in like November, and then basically it took me until like September 2018 to realize I better just go ahead and just buy an Oculus while I can. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have enough money on
VR is definitely the way to go.
It is, especially if you just want to get fully immersed on hand with everything around you. It definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but on the topic of that on hand, let's talk about hobbies on hand besides this game or so. I know for a fact you do some graphics design in Photoshop, and I also know.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
And I also know you do like different things like shooters as well. Because for some reason I also got like I got like two different things here. I have shooters and then I have Call of Duty on that for some reason because I have seen like some small compilations you had.
Yeah. So since obviously I have stemming all the way back into the early 2010s. I had branched out to do different stuff than just gaming because I mean, as much as gaming is interesting and mind numbing,
Mm-hmm.
I do have that itch that I need to have like a creative outlet. So like music's been a big one for me, and I'm actually getting back into that. And maybe we could touch on that later. But
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I do graphics design. I've recently started doing that again, and I recently did a branding for my brother, which people seem to really like, which makes me want to do it more. So hopefully I'm able to open up some time to do that, if people are interested or whatever. But yeah, to the shooters thing. I mean, I've played a lot of shooters over the last couple of years. I mean, I got into my first battle royale with Ring of Elysium, which most people will not even know what the hell that is, and rightfully so. It's not a good game.
I mean,
but at the time, it was definitely one of the best BRs. But I've gone from Overwatch, CS:GO, Call of Duty, Valorant. It just if it has FPS and if it has FPS anywhere involved with it, I've probably tried it at some point. Now I'm not gonna say most FPSs are good. A lot of them are not great. That's why especially this year, I've been kind of trying to stray away from that genre and try, different games. Like, for example, last night I started playing Divinity 2, which is definitely a reach for somebody who's been playing FPSs all their life, playing an RTS RPG,
Yeah, it's an interesting turn. Interesting turn on hand.
But yeah, I guess I could talk more about the Photoshop thing now. So, I guess this brings me back to when I was 14, and I was part of the Call of Duty community, and a big demand back then was people or teams needed graphics designers, and I was like, well, it's a creative outlet, and I don't have anything else to do as a 14-year-old kid because I kind of stay inside and play video games all day. When I'm bored, I'll just pop open. I mean, an admittedly not owned version of Photoshop. I was 14. I couldn't afford to pay for Photoshop.
Understandable.
But I would spend every day watching tutorials on YouTube and just copying this dude and learning the trades of graphics design. And while I'm not saying I'm perfect or that everything I learned is translated into making me this god tier artist or anything, but I've learned enough to where I have a basic understanding of what Photoshop can provide, and obviously there's better tools for what I try to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would much rather have Adobe Illustrator, but I don't have the slightest clue on how to use Illustrator. I'm obviously it's probably similar in a way to Photoshop, but yeah, definitely definitely that time period helped me kind of make me realize what I want to do, you know, outside of being a kid and, you know, gaming for sure.
I mean,
and you know, I tried the whole you know, pursue esports thing, because that's what most people who are in competitive gaming are like. That's their dream. Like, yes, I want to be a pro gamer. Well, it turns out it's a lot of hard work. It's much harder than owning having a 9 to 5. And anybody who's deep into esports will tell you that it's hard work. Like, it's a lot of I mean, and that's what it helped me respect people who are in pro sports too, because like, especially like say you're the starting quarterback of an NFL team. That job takes a lot of effort, and they pay them that way because of that. I gained a lot of respect for NFL players and like just sports players in general, because you have to learn so much and just pack it in your brain. And it's not like practical stuff. It's not like algebra or science or history or anything like that. No, it's like if you see this, you know, this setup, you know, this is what you call to counter it. It's like trying to. It's basically a chess game, and that's basically what you're doing in esports too. And it was I earned a lot of respect for people who do that as a living, for sure.
Yeah, it basically requires like being on the grind and just basically having the mental fortitude to kind of like you're basically trying to push an instinct into your own mind on what you need to know on hand, like quick step on hand for the most part, especially under pressure.
Understanding what the enemy's gonna do and do it faster.
Yeah, under pressure. Basically. That's basically what it is too. Under pressure on hand.
Yep, being clutch in the moment, for sure. That's definitely another one. And the most esteemed people in any field of sport, esport or not, you know, those are the people that have the big names, or the people that come in clutch. You know, if anybody's in NA CS:GO, I mean, you're gonna know those people. You're gonna know like Hiko, Skadoodle, Shroud, people like that. You're gonna know their names because those are people that were in the, you know, the players in the clutch, especially back in the day when the sport was growing. So those names were elevated by the game.
Oh yeah.
But and you know, I can't go all the way back to, you know, 1998 and tell you all the people from back then. Like, I can't talk about, you know, Hunden or, you know, Fifth Laren or anything, but yeah, I can talk about my generation and who we know.
Yeah,
but
it has a very decorated history of when it first started and to how it's evolved from here on out, especially with like different competitors on it, as well as like a different form of style depending on how the game itself grows. Sure, it's the same game, but people find a way to do different things. It may take time on hand, but they find a way to be able to, well, catch you off guard when you least expect it.
And I mean, obviously, you know, we weren't necessarily going to talk about sports, but I can give you a good example of like the innovation. So a couple years ago, I guess now the LA Rams brought in a new head coach in Sean McVay. Now, if anybody follows the NFL, they know that he's basically renowned best offensive-minded head coach in the NFL right now. And he brought a different look to the NFL for an offense, and that brought that Rams team all the way up to the Super Bowl, where they ended up losing to the New England Patriots. But the innovation brought them all the way there, and the Patriots were able to counter that with their own innovation. So the innovation thing is really big, especially in our industry, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Having something unique and different can bring you up to places you didn't think were possible, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely on hand. So let me talk about communities with you on hand. Now, I was gonna say, over the time we've been on VRChatter, so we've seen communities come and go. We've also seen communities that have stayed and basically evolved into very interesting branches, so to speak. With basically different directions on hand. Some of them go into like a very interesting like trend on hand, other those go into very controversial kind of places on hand. Things you see on Twitter, basically. But the question I was going to ask, out of any of community on hand or so, what would be like some of the interesting stories that you know based on certain communities you've been part of, or basically certain parts of the community that you know that you are familiar with for the most part?
Whew, that's a tough one. Because I mean, I've been around for a while, and I've been around a part of a lot of things. So going back and looking at all that, whew, that's a loaded question. I mean, I guess I could talk about communities I'm a part of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with me being staff for Red Zone, with the whole party community, I guess. You definitely meet interesting people, and they have a lot of interesting things to tell. Obviously, most of the time drunk, but I don't know. I definitely don't have a straightforward answer to that, because like it's very, very generalized. Like, yeah, there's definitely interesting people and stuff, but like I don't have anything crazy to say about, because I usually try to stay out of things if things were to come up or whatever. You know, I try to be the guy that stays out of it, but obviously sometimes you get dragged into it, or you know how it is.
Yeah.
But,
yes.
I don't, you know, and I don't want to, I don't want to like drop any, drop any spicy, any of that spice.
Yeah.
I don't want to drop tea.
Yeah.
On.
Yeah. Don't want to spill tea
on something that happened like a year and a half ago. You know, it's like it doesn't particularly matter. I think. And I'll sit here and, stand up for Red Zone, because Red Zone's been pretty good to me, especially, obviously, mutual with Ladle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been having a good time, and our dance leader and one of the coners, Explosions, has done a lot for that community, and it's painful how hard she works for that community, and I wish I had the same drive and effort that she does, because Lord, the places we'd be if we had two of her, trust me.
I mean, you gotta admire also the fact that basically with Ladle on hand, they've been doing this for what, 6 years, like in the sense of streaming and all.
Oh yeah, Ladle's been streaming for many years. Has been around a long time, and I have a lot of respect for Ladle. And I know, and Ladle knows that, I like to, because I like to think that we're friends. I'd like to think so, being around for so long, but, I have an immense amount of respect for, everybody in Red Zone, because everybody works so hard, and I like to think we do a really good job with everything. And again, I'll keep mentioning Explosions, because Explosions does a lot of work, and I she deserves a lot of credit and a lot of praise, for sure.
No, I feel you. I feel you on hand. Plus also too, when you I assume he does a lot of map work and everything too, right? Or just basically.
Oh yeah, Explosions made the map. It has made 2 maps now, actually. And runs the dance team, and recruits talent, and gets everybody in shape and all that. They do a lot. I mean, they're on it every week, and I just don't know how to do it. It's amazing to me.
I mean, when you got enough free time on hand, or basically when you know how to organize your time or keep a tight schedule on hand, you can definitely keep up with it. Especially when people kind of question if you get any sleep or not,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've definitely asked that a couple times. Like, do you sleep? Or do you?
Yeah. Do you know what rest is? Do you know what rest is? But since you mentioned that on hand being the party scene on hand, I was about to ask you a question about the party scene entirely. Now, understand, I'm not around too many party scenes on hand. I've never been to Red Zone, nor have I ever been to Necro Nights or basically anything big in general in the sense of club parties or anything. But I will say on hand, from what I know, is that every party scene has its own code, or basically has its own standout staple with each one or so. And the one thing I was going to ask on hand is, like, based on whatever kind of party scenes you be on hand or so, do you know any of those staples, or basically anything that kind of sticks out between each different one for the most part?
You know, that's kind of a tough one.
Tough one.
I don't necessarily think it's a staple. I think it's the people that make it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the community that those party scenes have, and I think people who try and be a part of it need to respect that. You know, part of that is the community they've built there, and yeah, especially with Neko Nights, you know, because like I've been there, but I didn't feel a part of that. It wasn't for me. Obviously because like they have a culture there. It's something that I don't know. You know, so with that said, that's not saying that you shouldn't go to any of these like party events or anything like that. It's just when you're there, you need to understand it's more than just drinking and hangouts for some people. For some people, this is their time to like relax and unwind with their friends, you know, as it should be. And you know, for some people, that you know, this is the only time they get to like, you know, unwind for a bit.
Yeah.
As well as you know, these people have deep investments in this community, and that's just what they want to do is they want to, you know, spend time with people that are like-minded.
Yeah, like-minded.
Per se, I guess.
Like-minded, basically be able to unwind and just be able to try to just basically try to have like a good time on hand, even if it's basic, even if it's basically the exact same day, you know, you do like it's the exact same thing you do like, you know, 1 day or 2 days a week or so on hand. But for the most part, if it's
and you know, that's actually funny you mentioned that. We've had conversations about you know, having more events recently, and we do realize that as most of the people in our community are kind of split between EU and NA, like having events for both to kind of satisfy both of us. But you know, having too many events will only kill that like mood that the event gives, and you know, the excitement. Especially since we have things planned for specific days or whatever, you know.
Especially on hand in a sense of just once you got it split down or so, you kind of split down the magic for it too. Especially if it's, you know, it's known for this specific day on hand. That's basically no matter what it is, NA or EU. Basically, that specific day it's known for. And when you split it down to like different countries,
like you know, Red Zone's got Friday, Saturday. Neko Nights, I think they're Fridays, right? I think they're Friday nights, or are they Saturdays? I can't remember.
Atomsphere does it on Thursdays. I do know they basically have it split differently because
Thursdays.
The reason I say is because since it's basically run co-owned and run by both Oatmeal and Landfear. Basically,
by Oatmeal and Landfear, yeah.
Yeah, Landfear hosts it on a Thursday. I do know that because I've seen like different places. I've seen like different photos on hand being most on Thursdays. And as for Oatmeal, I believe it's either hosted on a Friday or Saturday. I'm assuming it's Saturday, but I'm not sure. That one's an iffy for me.
Well, but like Club AU's got Tuesdays, I'm not gonna remember all every single club.
That's all good.
But
it's all good.
And especially since I haven't been particularly active in the party scene or whatever for a little bit now, because I don't drink, so
I only drink on celebrations. I only drink when it's time to celebrate, not all the time.
Yeah, and there's a community there for everybody, and some will be more inclusive than others. Obviously I'm in a voucher red zone where we allow anybody, as long as you are a reasonable human being, then you'll be around, but obviously some won't be as inclusive, and you have to have certain standards or whatever, but that that's just how it is.
No, I got you on hand, and this kind of brings both of these things together, being communities and party scenes, with the following question. That's basically atmosphere. Now, when I say atmosphere, basically when it comes down to it is that when you ever enter like a place you've never been to before, or basically you recognize a few people in that crowd, but everybody else is kind of a mystery for you, there's always that atmosphere of basically trying to feel things out. You know, trying to feel like the different moods and energies are out there, or you know how a person is, or so. And
Yeah.
so it's like trying to connect or understand on how this person acts or how this person is on hand. I was gonna say, for the most part, is that hard for you on hand since you're
Oh yeah.
especially when you're part of Red Zone, when you see like people you never seen before on hand, or just basically been to places.
Oh yeah. It's really hard for me to necessarily read people immediately. It's very difficult for me, and it's not because like I don't try, or like these people are just like, you know, wild, or just
Mhm.
you know, whatever. I think like in general, I think I'm not the most socially exuberant person.
Mhm.
I'm definitely more introverted, so instead of taking the approach of introducing myself and warming myself up to that crowd, I'll let the crowd warm up to me, as in like I just kind of sit there and listen in.
Mhm.
And kind of catch their, you know, whatever they're talking about, or like what vibe they're going for. Most of the time people just want to chill, and that's, you know, that's pretty easy. And you know, I just sit there, and if they talk about something that I'm interested in, then I'll chime in. But with that said, you know, it's not like I'm gonna sit there and bother their, you know, their conversation. They're having a conversation, and I'm not gonna be the guy to butt into it, you know, for no particular reason.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I see that. But no, the atmosphere is huge, especially you know, especially just in general in terms of VRChat conversations, because it's, you know, people you know, people coming and going, especially in public worlds, where they're looking for an immediate response, an
Yeah.
immediate reaction, where they're looking for something really interesting, and that's it. You know, it's a immediate satisfaction almost.
Mhm.
And obviously that's not going to happen, but unless you walk into a room with a bunch of really wild people, and sure, maybe that's your group, but for me, I really enjoy just talking to people. That's my thing. I like talking to people, getting to know them.
Mhm.
You know, whether it's in a passionate way or just, hey, what's up, how you doing, you know, just normal conversation.
Yeah, just a nice chill conversation. Just nice chill conversation. Be able to get to know each other, especially on like a level-headed level where basically you can at least hear the person. Especially when you're surrounded by a group of people that could easily talk over you or so.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I'm not like, you already know, when we were in Snow SOS's group, there were 40-50 people in that world, and you couldn't hear a damn thing. It was really hard to interact with anybody without dragging them away and saying what you want to say and then going back.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that's very productive, especially if you're trying to actually converse with people and make that what you're trying to do. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I stopped being around large groups of people, is because it's like, it's really hard to actually get to know people and attain any sort of friendship with, like, legitimate friendships with people when you can't actually talk to them. So I've made, like, especially back then, I would make more friendships over Discord than I would over VRChat, which I feel like isn't really that great. And while Discord's fine, it's like I don't actually get to experience what that person is feeling. I don't get to, because, you know, VRChat's very good at you know, helping people understand vocal language. So the way you say something, you can't convey that over text.
No, you can't.
And same thing with body language. Like right now as I'm talking, I wish my VR headset wasn't broken, because you would see how I'm using my hands and my head to express myself. While that's not necessarily perfect body language, you're understanding that I'm trying to be more passionate by expressing myself with my hands and my body.
I do the exact same thing. Like, I express with my hands when I talk about things here and there. So.
But yeah, atmosphere is definitely a thing, and you know, maybe people need to be more aware of it and whatever. But I don't know where I'm going with that. But
no, you're fine. It's just kind of hard. It's just understand too. It's like when people want to get to know other people, so it's kind of hard to do when you have the overall present atmosphere of basically like of like everything happening around you, and you're trying to take so much in, but at the same time, you want to get to know this person, but you have no idea what would be the perfect time for it, or basically if you're going to be rude or interrupting, or basically, it's a lot of conflicting energy for the most part. Well, it
Yeah,
happens, and even if people don't know about it, even if you know everybody in the room or so, it could happen instantly, especially when there's so much happening all at once, because it's like dividing your attention up.
mhm. And I'll drop some wholesome stuff here because I haven't truly talked about this because I've been interviewed a couple times now, but I've never really talked about this like on a stream before.
Sure.
But and some people might know if they've talked to me before. But as a junior in high school, I dropped out of school. Mainly because I just wasn't interested anymore. I stopped going. And eventually they were like, "Are you even gonna come back?" I'm like, "No." So, and I just went and got my GED, and that was that. So as a 17-year-old who hadn't fully developed socially, because that last 2 years, junior and senior year, are really important for developing your social skills, and I didn't get that. So literally my only social ability was like it limited itself to talking to people on the internet, which meant I was really versed in memes, especially in like 2014, 2015, like anything that came up then. So like obviously like Vines and stuff, that was basically my language. I basically talked in that stuff, and obviously nowadays I'd come off as really cringe. But I was really socially inept, and while my brother necessarily wasn't as affected that, I was already very introverted. So not having that social skill, or the social skills of my peers, it really hurt my ability to talk to people, and I was really nervous trying to interact with anybody, especially people who came from my school, because I was nervous what they would say when I said that I had dropped out. Because obviously there's a whole stigma about dropping out, like, oh, you must have sucked at school or whatever. No, I just don't feel like going.
No,
it's not illegal. So, if I want to drop out, I'll drop out. But that's kind of where VRChat helped me a bit with my social skill and talking to people, because I'm now talking to my peers and people of all cultures and ethnicities and different backgrounds. That's one thing that VRChat's great for, is talking to people from all across the globe, not necessarily just here in the United States. But I mean, who in their right mind would say that I'd be talking to somebody from Qatar, or someone from Germany, or someone from Poland, or China, or Australia, New Zealand, like any of those places? I never thought, like, hell, one of my first friends on VRChat was an American living in Japan. And they were fluent in both languages, and they taught me a lot about Japanese culture, and that's what got me interested in the first place. Because I wasn't big on anime or anything back then, but they got me into it because it sounded so interesting. And hell, my bucket list now contains going to Japan.
Hey.
Like, that was something I hadn't even thought about before. Like, VRChat is really good for understanding other cultures and understanding people. Now, obviously, the negative of some of those do come in to factor into VRChat, but that's not necessarily just a VRChat problem. That's a global culture problem.
Yeah.
And obviously that topic is way bigger than myself or anything like that. It's not for me to necessarily preach my own word about. But at least in my experience, it's helped me understand people. Especially, I know this is going to sound, controversial or political or whatever, but it helped me. I talk to people who live here in the United States, who are black, during the last couple months. It helped me more understand them because I am a straight, quote, straight white male.
I gotcha.
So I don't necessarily know the same struggle Obviously, if I get pulled over, it's not really that big of a deal. I might get a ticket, or they might let me off, but I don't have any fear.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand that until then, and VRChat helped me understand that because obviously I'm an introverted person. During a pandemic, that I'm not gonna go out and just tap somebody on the shoulder and go, "Hey, what's this like?" This is, and VRChat really helped me with understanding different cultures and different point of views.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing things from other people's perspective, because I didn't understand that before, especially as a really naive kid that just wanted things to be better. And
I got you.
You have to understand other people's perspective before you can have an opinion about something now, and that's what I learned. So learning is good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is on hand.
Turns out.
And to kind of going into different topics on hand, which I feel like you might have already answered that. Basically, it's about the VRChat Current Present. But the thing is, the question I was going to ask is basically when you first started in VRChat, comparing it to where we are now, present time, what are some of the things out of that you wish would have stayed the same, or basically you're glad certain things have changed from it, like in the sense of VRChat in general?
Well, when the game really exploded at the beginning of 2018, it was definitely because of memes. That's for sure. And there were a lot of people coming on VRChat and memeing, as people do. And a lot of these creators had VR headsets collecting dust because they had VR companies had given them VR headsets for like one game or whatever, and then they just never saw the light of day again. So it gave them an opportunity to make a video and have fun on a game that they didn't really know too much about. I met a couple of people I really looked up to, like a Spoonerism, if you know who that is.
Yep, I know who
a former creature, and now he's a streamer. I met him in the first couple weeks of VRChat's explosion, and he seems really, like, I didn't really get to talk to him too much, but he's really cool. And I didn't get a chance to talk to him at TwitchCon. I'm not sure if he was there, but I would have loved to talk to him for sure. But yeah, obviously having all those people just swarm the game with memes, I thought that's what the game was going to be forever. At the beginning it was like just having casual conversation, because that's pretty much all you could do. But then, bam, memes kicked off with the whole You Got a Knuckles thing, and obviously world raids with like 25 people, like that stuff. I wish we still had stuff like that. That's one thing I do miss, is like huge collaborative efforts to just meme. We just don't have that anymore. We just don't have that kind of group effort. And I wish we had at least some of that.
No, I got you.
Like we got a bit of that when we had group raids of like people running around as geese, like for when Untitled Goose Game came out.
I remember that.
Like, if you remember that.
I remember it.
That was about a month before TwitchCon, and I just remember people running around as geese, just honking at people, and like that brought back memories from that time. But I just feel like we haven't gotten that sense. We haven't had an experience like that. And I'm not necessarily saying, bring it back, on purpose or, force it. But it needs to be a natural thing, because it won't be funny then. But
no, I got you.
I mean, that's definitely one of the things I miss. What I don't miss is some of the communities that have come into VRChat have I think probably what I'm alluding to here, have definitely like they teeter on very, very flimsy rules.
I got you. No, I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't necessarily want to name drop some of these communities, because if that club ever sees the light of day, I'm going to be crucified.
Don't
But
worry about that. It's just basically, I understand what you're saying. Basically, the rules itself is like a very gray area in the sense of it, just kind of like what VRChat is. We're basically
right, and these communities break Twitch's rules too. which I'm not going to touch on that too much because obviously I don't want you getting in trouble. But you know, there's rules in place for a reason. They don't want you breaking them. And while, you know, some people say rules are made to be broken, well, also they're meant to enforce those rules too.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and while VRChat you know, is usually pretty good about, you know, getting rid of specific people, they seem to show favoritism sometimes, especially in terms of their content creators, which I'm not necessarily opposed to, because sometimes it's not in their control. But some people just do it blatantly, and it's not great.
Yeah.
At least that's how I see it. Obviously, that might be controversial to say, but
no,
you know, I'm not going to name drop because we discussed that. That's not a thing I want to do because I like having friends. So
yeah, no, I understand, and plus it's one of those things too where, like I said, VRChat is one of those things where basically everybody's got their own group and such, but sometimes some groups can be very isolated in the sense of basically what they do in that particular thing, and it's it's one of those things, Tanner. So then again, we are at that point where basically you can think of any group on the top of your hand. Chances are they're either very isolated or basically far away from different things here and there. So
yeah, and you know, there's communities within communities now, and it's just hard to keep track of everybody. So I mean, it's going to be harder and harder to enforce rules, but I mean, until they find a way to, you know, enforce them better.
No, I feel you.
You know, here we are.
Yeah, I feel you. Let me hold on a second. Let me see here. I have to raise my headset up just so I can see whatever here's. Oh yeah. I was gonna ask too, since you mentioned this earlier on. You talked about like making music and everything on hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, when did you start? I was gonna say, when did you start making music, or when did that kind of interest?
Well, I mean, music in general. I mean, I've been interested in making music since I was probably 7 or 8. I mean, I played many instruments when I was a kid. I mean, the first instrument I ever played was the viola. Then, obviously, 4th grade, we got a recorder for a music class, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna bang that out in a week. Of course, we did. My brother and I both just banged out all the songs on the recorder real quick. Easy peasy. 5th grade, the band had actual instruments this time, and we were like, okay, well, this is probably the instrument we're gonna stick with for a while. And meanwhile, I was off being a prodigy with the viola, and I started playing the clarinet, which ended up turning into a saxophone. Then for a couple years, my brother and I became kind of like music prodigies at our school. And I mean, I'll give you an example of how, like how decorated my brother and I in terms of music are. From 6th grade to 11th grade, every event my brother and I attended, we won every award. We got first in everything. We won every award you could possibly get. No one else took any other award.
I'll be damned.
It was just me and him. We had colleges hitting us up like it was nothing. I mean, I had offers from like Michigan, but like Northern Iowa, Iowa State, University of Iowa. I even had one from University of Florida. I've had one from Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. I have so many.
The list goes on and on.
I still have some of the letters sitting in my room, and I almost have them as keepsakes to be like, I had something. Obviously, when I dropped out of school, though, they all lost interest because they was like, well, then you're not gonna pay attention in college, are you? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, all depends.
If it was football, they probably wouldn't have cared. But you know, what do I know? But yeah, I mean, after school, you know, after I dropped out of school, you know, the focus on music waned, and I focused on esports, and obviously, something was missing in my heart. I knew it was missing. And I was living in a condo with my brother and my mom at that point, and we lived there for I think 2 years. I think until I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved out to where I'm at now, and I've got more space to do stuff, and I've got a piano now. I've got like 4 guitars, a saxophone, 2 clarinets, a flute, a bass.
Yeah.
I still got my saxophone. I have a mini trumpet. I mean,
Yeah, you got a lot.
I mean, I'm very versed in music, and I recently started on electronic music, which I'm gonna try and hit somebody up in a couple days about getting started on that, because I have no idea what to do. And obviously we know some people in the community who are producers, and it would be really awesome to learn a little bit from them.
Like,
for sure.
Like when I think of producer and everything, the first thing that pops in my head is Godfrey Meyer. Like when I think of like in VRChat terms, like Godfrey Myers is one that pops in my head. It's been a while since I've seen him.
I mean,
so
yeah, you can also consider like Salty or Fexy HD.
Yeah, Salty as well.
People who
yeah, Salty
make
is
a lot of
awesome.
music.
Yeah, they do. They pretty much make a lot of different things on the side or so, which if you think about it, that's the creativity part of it. Like not only is it just kind of like, video editing, like Photoshop, or basically making music, there's also a little bit more that basically wires them together where you bring them all together for different things or so for your own creatives.
I think one of the things that helped me a lot through the first little bit of high school was performing on stage.
Mm-hmm.
While initially it definitely was like nerve-wracking, as I got older, just the satisfaction from people was enough for me. I'm doing the right thing. This is what I want to do. I've gotten some encouragement through streaming and stuff as well. Where people are like, you need to keep going. There's something here. And it's like, well, I just don't see that,
mm-hmm.
and nor do I, because it's not the same. You don't get the same immediate satisfaction of performing on stage. The claps or whatever are notifications of people following or
mm-hmm.
donating or subscribing. That's the applause for, at least for you, and you don't get that immediate satisfaction. That's the only thing I kind of miss about entertaining, is that you don't get that immediate satisfaction. Now obviously nowadays it's a little difficult to get that with the pandemic, but people have found ways. For example, I was just reading something like there was a concert that was done over Zoom and had 600 people there. I can't imagine it. I can imagine it was a nightmare to moderate, but
no, I got you.
But I
got you. I understand. I understand on hand. Two last things on hand I was gonna ask. One of them I forgot to even put down, but I was going to mention. Let's talk about Twitchcon, like 2019 on hand, because we bumped into each other a few times, and then we actually got a chance to sit down in an airport and just have a good conversation while you were playing like Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, I was playing Untitled Goose Game on my Switch. It was the Monday after, yeah.
It was the Monday after, because I got there Thursday, and the room itself. The apartment complex or so, where I was staying, so wasn't going to be unlocked till like 8 p.m. or so. So basically, I had a lot of time to kill.
Yeah.
And basically, I stood there for 3 days because TwitchCon didn't start till Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for those 3 days, and then Monday was when I was heading out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. You sat down next to me while I was at my gate waiting for my plane, because my plane wasn't showing up for like another hour and a half or something like that.
And I had time. Plenty of time to kill because I wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, because I had just gotten picked up by Senpai Supreme and Arnie, and we had just gone to the airport together. And they were both leaving, or actually no, Arnie had left Sunday night. It was Senpai Supreme, and I think one of his friends that he brought from his area. And we dropped off the rental car and we went, and we went into the airport. They left basically immediately, and I still had about an hour and a half, and you showed up, and I was like, oh, cool. You know, because I had recognized you because we had met at Twitchcon. And I was
Yep.
like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly we went to the Starbucks right there, and we bought a couple things. Then we went and sat down at the gate for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then you had to go.
Mhm.
I think you have a funny story related to that too.
Yeah,
if
I
recall.
had a funny story really. It was like before I even met you, or so we were at the Starbucks. So you did DM me over Twitter where I was or so. But I was gonna say before that or so, I was with Zeshin at that time, and basically both him and Karita were waiting in the exact same like terminal on that time because that's where they were heading off. Or so I was just sitting there, just basically shooting the breeze, as well as the Beast was there too. The Beast was there as well, basically, and I was basically just talking with him, just be able to get to know him and everything. And I'm gonna say this, like, even if Beast is doing like the Rick accent or so, when he talks normally, he still sounds like Rick.
Kind of has it.
He still sounds like Rick, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that was a gift or a curse, but either way or so.
I'm a little. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm actually a little glad I didn't see him because I had promised him I would buy him a beer when I was there, and I didn't get to see him. And if you remember, there was actually a bar pretty close to my terminal.
Yeah, there was.
So I'm kind of glad we didn't see each other because that would have been bad. Because I was definitely not. I was not doing well on the cash flow by the end of that trip.
Yeah, I know. That's another topic for another day because I already know what that was about. But yeah, the story behind that or so was basically I was there with you or so, and then my flight had to leave at 7:00 p.m. or so, and the thing too about it is the fact that basically I was looking at my ticket or so, and I kept having the funny feeling about my ticket on hand because it basically the terminal 19 on hand or so. So I automatically assumed that maybe it's the terminal I came out of when I first got here in San Diego. So around 5 or so, I said I had to go check this out or so. Whatever your flight's reading, I hope you have a safe flight and everything. I went to go check this out or so. I went by it and I was like, I sat down and I looked at it. I was like, it says like Washington and everything. I was like, I don't see Kansas City on there. So basically, I had to go find something on the wall to tell me where the terminals are, and I found Kansas City. And it was Terminal 21, and I actually had to go up to him and ask, basically, is this the terminal for Kansas City or so? I had to show him my ticket and everything just because of the thing on hand. I said, yeah, it is, and I was like, oh, that's strange. The person gave me the wrong number. On hand. If I didn't have the curiosity on hand, I might have missed my flight and stayed overnight in San Diego because I didn't have any way to get back unless trying to buy a flight back.
Yeah, I still remember how brutal my flights were. Like my flights from San Diego to Denver on the way back was rough. I was sitting right next to a baby who was screaming their head off the entire way back. Ooh, I didn't know suffering like that was possible. They were loud as hell.
I mean,
and it was like 11 o'clock at night because the plane had been delayed, and I was like, I just want to go home. Luckily, my flight from Denver back to home was relatively quiet because not a lot of people live out here, so it's not a very popular flight to go on at like midnight.
No, I got you on hand. My flight was fine. It was just basically my phone was kind of like low, so I basically put it in my pocket because I didn't do anything. I was just looking out the window. I basically was sitting next to a guy who was just watching Avengers Endgame, and I was like just basically kind of leaning in and seeing what he was just kind of watching that while waiting for the ride back home. But yeah, hell of a time out there in San Diego. First time I've ever been out there. It's the first time I ever learned how to use Lyft. So thank you, Session.
Yeah, I had to learn how to use Uber because Uber wasn't a thing here. So I had to learn how to use that while I was out there. And God, turns out having an Uber back and forth from your hotel is expensive. Especially if your hotel is 35 minutes away. I didn't realize it was so far, but it was the closest thing I could get because I had booked so late. I mean, I was booking at like the end of June. It was so late, and I didn't have any people to book with. And I was like, well, fuck.
No. No, I got you. I got you on hand.
I mean, it was a cheap hotel room, and I still got 2 beds because they were like, "Well, we don't have a single bed for you. Is 2 fine?" I'm like, "Sure." So I only ended up sleeping in 1 bed, but I slept in the one closer to the bathroom because there was not as much light there. Because when I landed on Thursday, I was going to meet up with Angsty Snow, and he was like, "Yeah, we're at the Starbucks next to the convention center." I'm like, "Okay, well, what's next to the convention center?" And he said, "It's the one closest to the convention center." So I ended up from the airport. I went I took an Uber to the front of the convention center, and he was like, "Yeah, the Starbucks next to the convention center, not the one inside the convention center." You'll see where I'm getting there. I didn't want to take another Uber to go up to that Starbucks, so I was like, I'm just gonna walk there. Now, in San Diego, it was in the high 80s, low 90s. I was wearing pajama pants because in Iowa it was 50.
Yeah.
and I was also wearing a sweatshirt. I was hot as hell by the time I got to the Starbucks. I was like, damn, it's hot.
Understand, when I lived in Kansas or so, basically, our weather is very bipolar, so I always wore a gray hoodie jacket anywhere I go. So because of that, I got so used to the heat that basically I can wear it and not even be fazed by it. So...
Yeah, and I had been, and the plane, it was cold too, so I was like, yes, this is a good choice of clothing. Until I got to California.
And there you go.
It was hot as hell there. Yeah, so... once I got to that Starbucks, turns out, not the right Starbucks. Because guess what? The Starbucks is inside the convention center. So I'm like, I walked all the way over here for no damn reason. Come on.
Good kid.
And it was the Starbucks right next to the, if you remember the rail system that was there.
Yeah,
it's right next to the station.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to that one, and I walked there for convention center, which is a pain in the ass. So I was like, well, damn. So, and I was carrying my luggage too, because I had just gotten off the plane, and I was like, where am I gonna put this? Because my hotel room is so far away. So what ended up happening is I was like, well, screw this. They're going to a restaurant. I'm just gonna take an Uber there. Turns out the Uber was shorter than the walk I had just taken, so I was like, great, and I look amazing now. And we had a good dinner, and Rob Roman's voice is there. Let's see, I know Hyper T was there. That was actually the first time I had met Hyper T Dog, and obviously Angsty was there.
Okay.
And we had a good lunch, and we were walking around for a little while. Can't remember what happened after that, but I know shortly after I took an Uber back up to my hotel room to drop off my luggage, where I ended up, instead of just dropping off my luggage, I fell asleep for I think 12 hours. So I woke up at 2 in the morning. I was like, well, I'm hungry. What am I supposed to do at 2 in the morning in San Diego, where I don't know where anything is? The only thing that was near me that was open was a 24/7 Applebee's, and I was like, yeah, you're not gonna catch me eating at Applebee's at 2 in the morning, thank you.
No, I got you.
So I went down to the main counter at the hotel, and they had some stuff there for sale. So I bought a packet of ramen and one of those tiny canned Cokes or whatever. Went back up to my room and I cooked the ramen. That is probably the saddest vacation experience I have, is eating undercooked ramen in a hotel room at 3 in the morning. It's so depressing, and it was literally 6 hours before I had to be in an Uber to go down to Twitchcon. I was like, I hate everything. I was so sad.
Jesus.
I was like, this is not how I wanted this to go, because I know all my friends were getting blasted Thursday night, and I was like, well, I could be going and doing that, but here I am eating cold ass ramen.
Good. No, I got you on hand. Damn.
But Friday went well. Saturday and Sunday I didn't really even go to the event. I pretty much just did things around town that I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I think that's probably why I won't go back to TwitchCon unless I'm more into the whole streaming thing, because I don't have, I think a lot of TwitchCon is like meeting other creators and obviously that big convention hall full of sponsors. I think that's kind of what it's about. Yeah, you can be there for, your friends or whatever, but I think you'd enjoy it more exploring the city. That's my personal opinion. I think you'd enjoy exploring San Diego more, in my eyes.
No.
Now, obviously, that's not a knock against Twitch. It's just my experience. But we ate at some damn good restaurants there. Obviously, for whatever reason, we decided to get Little Caesars. One of those days, I was like, well, why are we eating here? And they're like, well, we've never had Little Caesars. I'm like, where the hell do you live where you don't have Little Caesars? And one of them was, I don't even know, but...
Yeah. No, I got you on hand. Like, for the most part entirely, like, it's an interesting experience on hand, especially, just to be able to see people in person overall, as well as basically just taking the place that you've never been to before, which is nice, because you never know if you're ever going to come back again, which, that's what I did, me and a couple others.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever go back to San Diego for TwitchCon. But I know one of my mom's bucket list thing is to go to the San Diego Zoo. I wanted to go really bad.
No, I got you.
But when you find out the price of admission is $70, it's like, it could wait.
Yeah, it could wait. It'll get there when it gets there. But
yeah, I thought it was hilarious that it cost that much.
But last of my different topics I have on hand is basically, let's talk about anime real quickly.
Okay.
So 2 questions I'm going to ask basically. First question, when I say the word anime, what's the first thing that pops in your mind? First series or so.
First series that pops to mind?
Yep.
For me, probably ReZero.
ReZero. ReZero on hand. Okay. I was going to say the reason... Okay, and the second question I have on hand is, what is the anime that hits you close to home? Like, when you watch and everything,
close to home.
Yeah, you felt it.
Well, I mean, I think the ones that hit me the most actually weren't animes, but the anime movies. Obviously, A Silent Voice, definitely hit. I would suggest everyone watch that, because it tugs at the heartstrings for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of animes though, I don't know if anything really hit home, but I definitely enjoyed Spice and Wolf. That was one of the first animes I ever watched, was Spice and Wolf. I really enjoyed that show. I also enjoyed Konosuba.
That's a good one. That Konosuba is always a good one.
And I forgot the other one, but it's like the shield girl with like the turtle named Syrup or whatever.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I can't think of the title, but I know there's another season coming out soon. I know that. Which is like, yay! Because that anime is good.
There we go. Hey.
There's some like I just haven't explored enough anime as of late.
I got you. It's just whatever hits you. Whatever that you enjoy for the most part.
Yeah, I spent most of my watching hours as of late watching. I know this is gonna sound really odd, but Hololive entertainers, like trying to understand, like their aspect of VTubing.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the Japanese girls, not the EN ones. Obviously I've watched like subbed versions of their streams on like replay channels or whatever.
No, I got you.
And I don't know. That's the most anime I've gotten in the last month or so.
I got you on hand. Like, trust me, it's a different culture on hand when you gotta explore here and there or so, especially for like VTuber's sake and different ones. So, this is bringing me. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't have anything. I was just gonna make a quick remark. That was it. But
okay, but this leads me down to my last question on hand, and as you can see, I have this camera right here, And basically, I was gonna have you sit in the center floor, and I was gonna ask you this following question. That being, what are your goals and dreams? And at best, will be the best. And at best, will be the best advice you can ever give to anybody. So, if you want to take the center floor here really quickly, I don't even know if this thing's gonna raise you completely up or so, just because of this lip right here. But we'll see. But here.
I'll just stand here. That's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Stand here. I won't move.
All right, go ahead.
Best advice I could give is to keep the people close to you around. Keep those people close to you, because they're there for a reason. You know, the people who are there, who talk to you on a regular basis, who are interested in what you're doing. Those are the people you need to keep around in your life. I learned that one the hard way. So that's kind of all I really want to say in terms of the advice thing. But goals and dreams, huh? Well, I mean, in terms of dreams, I'd love to stream full time. That'd be great. Have streaming be my job? Hell yeah, it'd be awesome. But obviously, maybe a bit of an unrealistic dream. But goals for sure. Attainably, it would be nice to have a song produced and up on SoundCloud by the end of the year. That'd be awesome. In terms of long term, I'd like to have more of a career in production in terms of music and graphic design in general. Just creating. I just want to do that. I want to have I want to continue to push this outlet that I've allowed myself in the last couple months to get back into what I love and kind of thinking more about what I want to do in the future, not what's in the best interest of other people. Because I've been living, I'm living your life in the living your life to the whims of other people is fine for some, but I can't do that anymore. So, finding out what I want to do is what I want to do, and creating is that. So, I guess that's my goal and dreams is to be more creative and have a more solid platform for that.
All right. Well, there we go. And well, I will say on hand or so, yeah, you got a lot. You got a lot on your plate in the sense of what you want to do here and there. But I know for a fact that you've done a lot in the sense. As long as you keep that creative flow going of what you want to do, for the most part, it'll take you there. And trust me, you got a lot. You got a lot of creative juices going for you, especially for what you want to do and what you got on hand. So I'm letting you know that right up front.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. No problem. And with that in mind, guys, that will be episode 18 of Shoot the Breeze.